Welcome back.
There we go. More data for the dome.
Good choice. Aloy, I know your experience in Thebes was unsettling, but we have a new problem.
Did something go wrong with Beta and the rig? Will we be able to transport you to Gemini?
The rig is complete. The problem is Hephaestus itself. It has accelerated its proliferation throughout the Cauldron network, increasing its power.
But with your subfunctions restored, we can still succeed, right?
Correct, but the net effect is that absorbing Hephaestus will take longer than previously calculated.
How long?
Even with Omega clearance, my current estimate is that the merge will take 35 hours.
And each hour increases the risk of detection by the Zeniths. Two cores. Two overrides. What if the merge were carried out by two clones of Elizabeth Sobek, both armed with Omega clearance? How long then? Half the time?
Hephaestus would be unprepared for the simultaneous labor of two operators, in addition to obvious synergetic efficiencies. Calculating. It would reduce the merge time to approximately 4.5 hours.
Okay. Varl, it looks like we're gonna need Beta at Gemini. Do you think you can convince her?
I don't know, but I'll try.
What about our diversion? Are the pulse generators ready?
Only a final test remains. I am confident that, if fired in proximity to other cauldrons, the pulses will mask our activities at Gemini from the Zeniths.
Good. As long as Aaron can operate one without shooting himself in the face.
Aloy, you better get down here. Beta's in bad shape.
Okay. I don't think that door had power before, but looks like it's malfunctioning.
Aloy. I tried, but it's impossible. I don't think any—
We don't have a choice.
Good luck.
Beta, you have to come with us. It's the only way. It's one mission. The most important one. We need you. Tell me why you won't go. What if they take me back? Alone, in a cell again. A slave. Forever. The only way we can end the risk of that happening is by stopping the Zeniths for good. And in order to do that, we have to get Hephaestus. The Zeniths are a threat to everyone, Beta, not just you. So find your courage. That's easy for you to say. You still have no idea what they're capable of. I told you from the beginning, we'll never beat them. It's hopeless. Beta. Leave me alone! You don't understand! You're right. I don't understand. We have the same genes, the same mind, the same heart. So why can't you find the strength to do what has to be done? Like Elizabeth would. Don't you think I've thought about that? I don't know what piece of Elizabeth I'm missing. I don't know what you have that I don't. I look through all the data from your focus. You were raised as an outcast, shunned, and isolated just like me, so what's the difference? What's my defect? Beta, you don't have a defect. Beta, look, it's not a piece of Elizabeth. The difference is, I had him. Frost. He raised you, trained you, but he was never warm or loving. The day he died, the day he gave you that charm, he was going to abandon you. He wanted me to embrace the tribe. But then he gave his life for mine. He loved me in his own way. And that was enough. What did it feel like? It was like having a strength that was always there. It's still there. Even now I hear him in my head when things get bad. When it looks impossible, look deeper. And then fight like you can win. You don't have to go on the mission. We'll find another way. I'll go. You're right. I'll only be safe from them when we succeed. But you have to promise me one thing. Yes, of course. If it goes bad, if the Zeniths find us, I don't want to be their slave again. Do you understand? Okay. Promise? I promise. I could use as much time as you can give me to study up on the merge, to make it as efficient as possible. I'll be ready when you are. I swear.
Aloy, whenever you're ready, come speak to me and I'll ask the others to make final preparations for the mission.
Aloy, can you speak?
Aloy!
Right to work, I see.
There's just so much. I mean, we knew of artificial beings that served the ancestors, but Gaia? Oh, she's amazing! And you, a true reincarnation of an ancestor, genetically speaking, of course, not like the, late CO. And there's more ancestors out there, returned from beyond. Of course, they're trying to kill us, which is not great. And Eric Visser is with them, which is disturbing. And then there's Hephaestus.
Okay. How about we take it one step at a time?
You're right. I also owe you an explanation for everything that happened at Landfall. Oh, and if you have a moment, there...
I see you've been using your new...
It's been fascinating. So much better than the version the Quen have. What would have taken me years to sort through, like the database you helped me recover, with this, I've been able to establish search parameters to speed up the process. This could revolutionize how diviners analyze the legacy. That is, whatever part of it the Overseers would actually let us study.
You wanted data, you'll find lots of it.
A diviner has never had this sort of unsupervised and knowing you, I suspect there is much that would normally be forbidden, held. But I was sent here to help you. I would be remiss to ignore any truth laid before me. Maybe it'll help the Quen find their way back to the path of truth.
Any more data catch you up?
All of it? I have so much to study up on. Years, actually. I'm particularly interested in the Odyssey. We knew the ancestors had made it to the moon. In fact, we theorized some of them had settled on it. But Sirius is way farther than that. And we thought journeying across the ocean would be the feat of a lifetime. The sheer calculations needed for space travel, it's overwhelming to think about.
Even so, the Quen are way ahead of other tribes when it comes to understanding this stuff. Where I grew up, everyone thought that stars were sparks that rose from a fire lit by the goddess to guide us through the night. You mentioned Eric Visser? How do you know about him?
The Zenith who tried to kill you? He is known to the Quen as the Protector. Combing through data related to his work led us to breakthroughs related to weapons and military tactics. Knowledge our rulers used to conquer and expand. To become the empire we are today. That's why he's one of our most revered ancestors. But, based on your encounter with him, it appears he's even more ruthless than yet another distorted...
Well, at least you're...
If only the Overseers back...
Beta mentioned other Zeniths. Tilda, Verbena, and...
I'm afraid I don't know it. Whatever legacy they left behind, the Diviners haven't recovered.
I imagine you don't know anyone here that well yet, but...
It's funny, because one of your friends is, well, another you. Not that you are the same person at all. I mean, you are, as in, you're both genetically Elizabeth Sobek, but even so, you're different.
We grew up very differently. But sometimes different is good.
Yes, of course.
Must be strange to think that some of the ancestors your tribe reveres are and here on Earth right now.
Yeah, it is. Part of me's curious to know who else besides Eric Visser might be among them. Maybe Nikita Arand? We call her the Spark. The legacy tells us she brought unlimited energy to the old ones. Or Sung Jiao, whom we call the Healer. It is said she found new ways to extend the ancestors' lifespans. But my curiosity fades when I think of how different are. Perhaps it is better not to...
I hope everyone's been
Oh, yeah, of course. They've all been extremely welcoming. And they share the knowledge they learn on their focuses with each other. It's refreshing. Back home, diviners can only share data with the permission from the Overseers.
Sounds restrictive and stifling.
Yeah, you are not wrong.
Have you spoken with Zoe at all?
A little bit, but I did hear her singing with Varl not too long ago. I don't think they noticed. Zoe seemed so free when, like, every emotion she had was, and she looked happier because I felt so dull and nervous and...
You should ask Zoe to teach you sometime. About Utaru music.
Maybe.
If you need anything before heading out to the cult...
You have nothing. Gaia's explained your plan in detail, as expected from such an efficient AI. I've even received some very, succinct, you know?
What kind of...
He...
For now. We'll even the odds soon enough. You said you owed me an explanation for what happened in Thebes. I'm listening.
Right. I'll start at the beginning, with the CEO. He was an Imperial, the Emperor's nephew, in fact. As such, he sponsored many diviners to search the legacy for anything that might help the and himself. He took a special interest in anything related to Ted Faro, whom we consider the greatest of the ancestors.
Ted Faro, revered ancestor. That's tough to take.
I know better now, of course. Anyway, the diviners discovered that Faro spent a great deal of time in San Francisco. In fact, many of the most important ancestors did. So the Emperor's nephew convinced him that an expedition across the ocean might solve our most pressing problems. If only we could find the right data in this fabled... Perhaps we could roll back the floods and storms that the Emperor declared that all the tribe's resources be poured. Dozens of ships were scouting missions, and the Emperor's nephew was named CEO, one who wields the legacy for the good of the living embodiment of Ted Faro. It may seem strange now, but for a time, he carried all of our hopes. We really believed he would save us. We had no idea just how perilous the journey would be.
You said the expedition across the sea was more dangerous. What happened?
We lost most of our ships to hurricanes, and scores of soldiers perished to hunger and disease. And that was before we even hit the coast. Once we landed, machines ripped our patrols apart, and we struggled to replenish our rations. There were bright spots, to be sure. We found Thebes and the greenhouse, but nothing improved the CEO's mood as his dreams of saving the tribe. He became more and more obsessed with Thebes and what lay behind its door, and more convinced that the title of CEO was no mere You heard him, spouting nonsense about Pharaoh's essence and some kind of becoming. We knew these weren't the words of a sane man, but he was quick to put any who spoke out.
What a great guy.
The Quen are wrong about many things when it comes to the legacy. I can see that now. But what the CEO became was a complete perversion of what principal diviners stand for. The pursuit of truth. I'm sorry you had to endure his madness. I'm just glad it's over.
So, Bohai, your overseer. Will he run things better than CEO?
He won't execute people on a whim, if that's what you mean. But he's hardly a paragon of integrity. I can't tell you how many times he took credit for data in the legacy that I uncovered. The best thing I can say about him is that he can be trusted to always do.
Yep, sounds... The ancestors, is that what your people call the old one?
Yes and no. The ancestors are the greatest of the old ones. Those whose legacy taught us agriculture, medicine, warfare, leadership, and patronage of the science and arts.
The CEO called Elizabeth Sobek an assistant. What's that about?
Right. Well, any old one who has made minor contributions or worked extensively under one of the ancestors is called an assistant. That's how we thought of Sobek, until we met you. Our limited access to data past the late 2040s has obviously misinformed our view of the past.
You mentioned the reason you came here was to help your family.
Her name is Alika. Our parents are commoners, peasants, really. When I passed the divination exams, they were so proud. It brought honor to our family and increased rations. Only Alika begged me not to leave for the research academy.
Why? What happens there?
Alika knew that once you enter, you're not allowed to leave or see anyone, not even your family. Unless you can get special permission and an escort by an overseer.
That sounds harsh.
Like the focuses we keep, diviners are few in number, and the Empire is, well, fearful that outsiders will try to steal our knowledge. Last time I was allowed to see my family was just before our voyage here. Because of my position, I was able to get them refuge from the floods within the capital. But if our crops don't recover soon, they'll starve to death along with everyone else.
I promise I'll do my best to make sure it doesn't come to that. Back at the greenhouse, you spoke of no—
Diviners are meant to seek out the truth in the light, and many Imperials sponsor them in the hopes they'll find something the Empire can put to use, thus gaining favor with the Emperor. But the Board of Overseers claims certain truths are detrimental to the stability of the Empire, like discovering one of our revered ancestors ended the world. That is why Diviners are only allowed to access segments of the legacy. Only Overseers can view it all. It ensures that any heretical data can be contained and retrieved before it can—
What happens to Diviners who break the rules?
I never had the courage to ask.
You mentioned there was—
Yes. So, as I was sifting through data from the greenhouse, I found references to an old world system back in the Great Delta. It's called Leviathan. My people discovered it decades ago. A sprawling network of river gates and a labyrinth of underground The legacy revealed that the old ones used it, but we've never gotten it to work. The whole thing is shut down. But the data from the greenhouse mentions the research facility where Leviathan was It's in San Francisco.
Another Pharaoh facility?
No. Leviathan was a project by Eileen Sasaki, another ancestor. So the legacy tells us, anyway. Every year my sister gets terrified when the long rains begin. With Leviathan, maybe she won't have to be.
Okay. So, where in San Francisco is this facility?
That's the thing. The data doesn't say where, exactly. But one of our diviners has been exploring the ruins. He might know. Would you come with me? I have a feeling that wherever this facility is, well, you're much better at fighting machines than I am. Thank you, Aloy.
I should go.
Of course. Before you do, it sounded like there was an issue with Beta and the mission.
Not anymore. We just needed to talk some things.
To understand one another is to embrace truth.
And, like I said, I'll let you know when I'm in landfall. We'll find the data you're after.
I appreciate it.
Hey, we'll be going after Hephaestus soon. You good with the plan?
I've already got the location of my assigned cauldron.
Good.
I heard you and Beta had a...
News travels fast.
It wasn't exactly a quiet conversation.
There were just things that needed to be said.
A healthy crop to those who clear the weeds between them, as the Utaru say. Oh, I also wanted to give you this. For helping with the land gods. Plainsong is in your...
Thank you, Zoe.
You deserve much more for all you've done. May the land all...
And... you look like you have something on your mind.
We're going to war, and war is something I promised myself I'd left behind in the Red Raids, but... the more of your data I go, every voice I hear, every word I read from our ancient past, it makes me realize just how much life was given, fighting for that gift. If we fail...
Helps to know you're not alone.
For a moment there, you sounded like Varl.
I don't know what you're talking about. Read anything interesting lately?
I found out the old ones use leaf infusions like the Utaru do. Tea, they call it. Apparently it helped soothe them. That and some sort of scented wax they used to... Me, I think I'll stick to singing to...
Varl looks pretty focused.
He's been obsessing over the data revealed to us by Poseidon. Just the other day we read about mountains hiding deep underwater that spew fire. If I understand correctly, Gaia said the flames they release come from the very center of the earth. Like a heart, beating with the life of the world. As always, the cycle can be found in even the most unlikely of places. Of course, Varl's mostly interested in watching explode.
I assume you've been looking into Demeter now that Gaia's merged with it?
Yes. It's been to know that the seeds I carry in this pouch came in turn from the seeds saved for Demeter in the old world. It gives me hope that the cycle of life will prevail now, just as it did before.
Have you met our new Quen guest yet?
I could barely keep up as she gave herself a tour of the base. Varl gave her a new focus. Though when he told her she was free to access all the data, she turned so pale I thought she'd faint on the spot. We showed her to the archive room so she could see for herself. She hasn't left the place since.
That sounds like Alva. How are things with everyone?
Slightly quieter. Aaron's been busy scouring data on his newest obsession. Apparently the old ones wrestled machines as some kind of... called it metal versus meat. You'd think we have enough of that going around as it is.
How to go with the chorus after we fix the land god?
They were shocked when I told them that our lands would soon be on the... I thought Fane's eyes would pop out of his head, but of course they had no choice but to take it as... even if it meant all their preaching about meekly accepting our doom was exposed as rot. To be honest, I found the conversation to be highly enjoyable.
I'm glad. You deserve it. They're lucky that you never gave up on saving them. I should go.
As soon as you intend to...
You'll hear about it. Hey, I thought I'd check in before leaving for Gemini.
Are you sure we shouldn't be checking up on you? Whatever went on between you and Beta sounded... Not that I'm judging. Forge knows all the screws flew loose every...
I think we'll be fine.
I'm glad to hear it.
I found out who's running the Sons of Prometheus. A woman named Sarah.
Oh, no. Remember how Durval had a band of freebooters that retaliated against the Carja? She was one of them. First female tinker in the claim to run her own forge. But when her family got killed in the Red Raids, she went bad. Real bad. I thought she was dead, though. Taken out by one of Murad's guys.
Well, she's not. And she wants revenge against the Carja. We have to find out where she's operating from.
I haven't had any luck finding someone with a... so I'll be scouting out Baron Light next.
I'll keep tracking her lackeys out west.
We'll find her. We have to. It's thugs like her who murder...
You look tired?
Ha! You never want to hold back, are you? I've just been making sure that I got everything down for this. I wouldn't want to be the usual screw-up out there.
You'll do fine. After we get Hephaestus, we'll be taking the fight to the Zeniths. So... no more reading.
It wasn't that bad. Besides, going through all that data helped me realize something. You know, the soldiers, the ones that fought the Pharaoh machines so Gaia could be built, they were fighting a battle that couldn't be won. Not with all the weapons in the world. I think most of them realized that, whether anyone said it or not. They still did it. They bought time for all the eggheads working to save the future. Our future. As long as I can do that for you, I'll consider myself a success.
Thank you, Erend. I'm glad you're with me.
Okay, enough.
Have you spoken with...
Yeah, when she's not reading the archives like a giddy she took to that new focus quick. That's... I gotta say, I'm a little... But I can see why you two...
Anybody take...
Zoe can't stand... I tried Alva, but I don't think she knows what... And I'm not putting Varl anywhere near that stuff after that.
What about Kata...
Ah, now there's a man that can hold it. Pretty sure we downed half a keg. We had a good chat.
I should go.
Same here.
Aloy, everything okay with you and Beta? It sounded like you guys had a, lively conversation.
We just had a lot to talk about.
Does this mean she's coming with us to Gemini?
It does. I hope you're ready to rein in the most stubborn AI of all time.
That's what all this was for.
Hephaestus won't go down quietly.
Hephaestus is just a program that's lost its way. We are fighting for our... I can always call upon the goddess.
Funny. Any last findings you want to share?
Not really.
Oh?
When we put Gaia together, I want to return to the Nora. Spread what I've learned.
You think they'll listen?
In time, I believe so.
If anyone can make it happen, it's you, Varl. I hope firing off those pulse generators will be enough to...
It'll work. It has to.
Always optimistic.
Nah, just stubborn. It's a good quality to have when dealing with you.
Yeah. Once Gaia is back up and running, I expect you to put all your...
The seeds have been planted. All they need. What? I thought that was pretty good.
I'm glad you and Zoe found each other.
Don't forget, you're to blame for that.
What will you and Zoe do if you go back to the Embrace?
I hope she'll come with me. At least for a while. And I'll go with her to Plainsong too. She'll probably want to talk to her people about all this as well. We'll figure it out.
I know you will. How does everyone seem to you?
Anxious, but ready. I heard Kotallo ask for Alva's help with his pulse generator. And I know he's been helping her with a few fighting techniques, just in case.
I hope they aren't needed.
Like I said, just in case.
You were right, you know, about keeping Rost's memories buried. I guess part of me thought he was holding me back, because he wanted me to be but the truth is he gave me a lot. And I took him for granted.
He was a good man. He raised you well.
I'm glad you're coming with me, Varl.
Sure there's no urge to run off alone in there somewhere?
No more running.
Aloy, are you well?
Had a bit of an issue with Beta. It's better now, though.
Ah.
Really?
I once knew a warrior who discovered he had a brother late in life. It was deeply uncomfortable.
Did he...
In time. But not before the two siblings nearly killed each other in a single combat challenge.
Ah. Well, at least I avoided that. Were you able to finish the new arm Gaia was helping you with?
Indeed. I was...
How are your studies going?
I wanted to learn more about the world of the Old One.
And?
I looked up this pharaoh Gaia said you went looking for, and learned about the plague of machines he unleashed. To think that the ancient world was wiped out by... a mistake. A single miscalculation. There is no glory or honor in such a fate. Only hubris. And pointless death.
That about sums it up. Think you're ready to put all your training to the test?
I am Tenakth. I am always ready.
Have you spoken with all...
The Quen is peculiar. Nothing like a Tenakth. Her mind is sharp, that much is certain. But it's hard to imagine her survive.
Trust me, she's tougher than she looks.
I will take your word for it.
You nervous about the mission ahead?
If I live, it will be in victory. What matters most is that you achieve your objective.
I'll do my best. You wanted to talk about your...
Indeed. It's time to test it. And I...
Okay. How are we doing this?
Not how. Where? Will you meet me where we felled Regalla's tremor tusk? Right where the river bends?
Sure, if you want.
You'll see when we get there.
Then I'll let you know.
You have my thanks.
I should go get...
I await your...
Like I said, I'll call you when I'm close to Regalla's old out...
May the 10...
Hello again, Aloy. Hello, Aloy.
Hey, Gaia. So, me and Beta...
Yes. I am continuously impressed by the complexity, despite the unpleasant circumstances that led. I am pleased to see you have both found an agreeable
Well, two heads are better than one, right?
Yes. Are you ready to depart for... Or we can continue our conversation.
Have you been able to make...
Yes. I was able to mitigate most soil. You should notice less rampant plant growth.
Maybe that'll give Plainsong's feet...
Yes. Given that the Utaru's land, I expect the land will yield a modest...
The first of many. There's something I'm still... Demeter using flying machines to distribute metal flowers.
In its direct... Demeter was defending itself against a robotic swarm that would devour...
It thought the Pharaoh Plague was...
It feared it would come again. As part of its directive of reseeding Earth's vegetation, it sought to protect plant life at all costs. And considering it had 20 years to proliferate, I expect you will continue to find the fruit.
That's a good thing I have the code to... Were you able to make use of...
Yes. Many rivers, streams, and lakes associated with the regional watershed have been detoxified. As a result, red algae grow. According to my data, it appears a localized occurrence of red algae continues to persist.
Maybe I'll look into... The missing subordinate functions.
Artemis rewilded the Earth with a variety of animal species. Eleuthia was responsible for gestating, nurturing, and acculturating a new generation of human beings. Apollo was tasked with preserving and disseminating vast archives of... Unfortunate, all archived Apollo data was purged on the 2nd of February, 2066, by order of Ted Faro.
Ted. Guess he got what he deserved, in the end.
Yes. An igneous conclusion to his pathological narcissism, impulsive tendencies, and instability.
All 3 of the missing functions have already served their purpose, or were prevented from doing so. Do you still need them?
Restoring their remaining elements would increase my heuristic, empowering my overall function. Unfortunately, as we now know, attaining them in the short term is very likely.
I guess our best shot at recovering them is by taking... But we'll need Hephaestus and a bunch of combat machines to do that.
Correct.
So, Poseidon spent the last 20 years hiding out in Lost... From the data I found, it seems the city had an advanced water reclamation system. Is that why Poseidon went there?
Most likely. In an effort to protect itself, Poseidon... There, buried and encased in a protective dome, it could guard against any threats.
Like 3 Oseram showmen?
I suspect that was not the first time it felt the need to repel trespassers.
You said Hephaestus isn't located in just one...
Correct. Unlike the other subordinate functions, which are confined to discrete physical processors, Hephaestus is distributed throughout the global network that connects the planet's cauldrons.
So now that we have Omega clearance, we have everything we need to trap Hephaestus in Cauldron Gemini.
Correct. Due to its increased complexity,
Beta and I will get it done. So, once Hephaestus has been recovered and merged, you'll regain the capacity to mass-produce machines at
Yes. And to program their behavioral routine.
So you could build an army of machines. Attack the Zeniths and take them out.
It is in my nature to take any and all necessary steps to preserve life on Earth, human life above all. So yes, once I have been empowered with the capacities of Hephaestus, I could design, build, and command such a... Given the nature of the far Zenith threat, doing so may be our own... I must admit, however, that I have misgivings about using such, no matter how aggressive the enemy.
That's good. It means you have a conscience. As Elizabeth intended.
Indeed.
You mentioned that the superstorms have subsided. Is that Ether?
Yes. Thanks to Ether's capabilities, weather patterns in the local region should mostly stabilize for...
That'll be a relief for the Tenakth. One of their villages is still recovering after a mudslide caused the whole place to...
I will continue to stabilize the atmosphere for as long as I...
Why did Ether take up residence in an ancient war museum?
As with the other subordinate functions, Ether needed to install itself on a processor with adequate storage and power. The one in the museum appears to have been sufficient, given that...
So Ether was assured it could stay for as long as it needed to.
Correct. Though it is curious that it chose a place surrounded with the ancient ruins of aircraft.
Maybe it also felt at home there. So, about Beta. I never really saw the difference. She's been through so much.
You have both endured many different in almost every respect, yet equally remarkable. I like to think of you as 2 miracles, born of Elizabeth Sobek.
3, then. Let's not forget about you, Gaia. How's all of us settling in?
As soon as she arrived, Alva was eager to study a particular file soon. Information about a machine assistant devoted to keeping living spaces neat and orderly. I informed her that once I am empowered with the abilities of Hephaestus, I may be able to design such a machine.
I'm sure she'll like that. When I set out to find a way to bring you back, I never thought we'd be here, like this. Among friends.
They have all come a long way with their improvised educations. Varl has suggested that one day we might extend this model to more tribal inhabitants, once the biosphere has been stabilized.
Yeah, that's not such a bad idea. As long as you're the one running. So our plan to capture Hephaestus.
As you wish. Thanks to Beta's test, we now know that Hephaestus will not respond to your Alpha clearance.
Which is why I got Ted Faro's Omega clearance.
Correct. While you were gone, Beta constructed the transport rig and pulse generator. When we get to Gemini, I will need to be in... The second core is for Hephaestus. Using Omega clearance will allow you to...
And then you'll be able to absorb...
Not quite. You will need to manually remove Hephaestus's malicious code.
How long will that take?
Because the work will be split between you and Beta, it will take approximately 4...
And during that time, the others will create a distraction for us using the pulse generators, right?
Correct. They will each take position at a cauldron door. The energy surge should mask our activities until the
And then we'll have everything we need to defeat the Zeniths. There's something I've been wondering. How could Ted Faro create a clearance level higher than Alpha? Elizabeth made sure he wouldn't interfere with the project.
It is plausible he tasked his own engineers with creating a back door to the Zero Dawn system, without Elizabeth's knowledge. My predecessor did not even know of its existence, and it is, in effect, a blind spot. One that will allow us to subdue Hephaestus.
Gaia?
Her presence is interwoven with my memories. The moment I came online, we exchanged greetings. It was the first of many conversations. Listening to her stories.
Your friend?
Yes. When I reviewed the data on your focus, I was saddened, though I am glad she made it home. I deeply wish she did.
She was okay with that. She gave all of her some... Thanks, Gaia. So the facility where I recovered Demeter used to be a Faro agriculture. It's where they created the biomass conversion system, but also adamantine. Did Elizabeth know they were working on it?
It is likely she was briefed on other efforts to combat the machine swarm, though her focus was devoted only to Zero Dawn.
That makes sense. But they actually got the if they've been able to deploy it against the Faro plague.
Using the data you recovered on the project, I ran several simulations and have concluded that it would never have worked. In all scenarios, the Faro war machines deactivate the wreaths before...
So Gemini has 2 data cores. I've never seen a cauldron like that. But you mentioned something about...
When my predecessor attempted to build the cauldron, construction was disrupted by a series of earthquakes. The data core had already been built, but the rest of the facility sustained damage, so she began again. A second core was built. However, when more tremblers occurred, she...
Lucky for us. Are the quakes still happening?
No, though they did also create instability.
There was a lot of data in the greenhouse. Do you think it'll help the Quen fix their home?
I will run a query. Complete. The data contains information about novel crop production methods.
But new crops aren't going to save the world. So I guess it's on us.
It is.
When I dove down into Vegas, I found data about the man who built the dome over the city. Stanley Chen. It turns out he was a member of Far Zenith. But if he loved Vegas so much, why did he abandon it? Why not try to save it?
The Zeniths, at their core, have proven to be exceptional survivalists. Faced with overwhelming odds of extinction, they chose to flee.
Even still, what he achieved. Water to the wasteland, an entire city brought back to life. 1,000 years later, the whole place was still on standby, just waiting for someone to come along and wake it up. So, what do you think Ted would have done if his life extension treatments had worked?
It seems he convinced himself it was his duty to guide future humans. Given the tribal nature of new humans, and his ability to use Omega clearance on the terraforming system, I imagine he would have convinced one or more tribes to worship him as their
Okay. Aside from Gaia Prime and Thebes, there was one other underground facility that was sealed, Elysium. The place where Zero Dawn staff and their families went to live out their lives. Do you know what happened to it?
Elysium was designed to provide life support for 100 years. My data indicates the facility went offline well before then.
Did the Pharaoh Plague find them?
Unknown. My connection to the facility...
I found some data in one of the rooms you unlocked. It mentioned that there are still functional seed banks beneath this facility. Why is it there?
My predecessor was tasked with reconstituting the biosphere. Had everything gone according to plan, humans would have eventually been able to
Can we access?
Unfortunately, it will have to wait in order to access and distribute the preserved seed.
And for that we need Hephaestus. So what will happen to this place?
All systems within this facility will, as Minerva will no longer be masking this location, the facility will be exposed to though without my presence, it is
Let's hope so. Beta believes the Zeniths want to use the terraforming system to wipe out life stored over. So they can... But why? Given their technology, they could wipe out the tribes of the world by easier. And if they're the same people who left Earth 1,000 years ago, wouldn't they want the biosphere to be as it...
It is likely they adjusted to different planetary conditions in their colony on Sirius. They may be trying to recreate that environment here.
Turning Earth into a new Sirius. So the Zeniths are the same physically immortal.
From what we know of Far Zenith, it is plausible that prominent geneticists and engineers were offered a place aboard the Odyssey in exchange for their expertise. Given enough time, technology, and resources, any challenge can be overcome.
Like how Minerva eventually generated the deactivation codes for the Pharaoh Plague.
Exactly.
Ted was trying to make himself immortal.
For every success, there are many more failed attempts.
The Zeniths. Gerard, Eric, Tilda, Verbena. Beta said they were some of the most powerful people. I think Elizabeth knew one of them. Tilda. Did she ever mention her to you?
No. Elizabeth often spoke of her work, or told stories of... If she knew this Tilda, she did not... What we can conclude from your and Beta's experience is that the Zeniths are ruthless in pursuit of their goal. To protect life on Earth, they must be stopped.
The extinction signal didn't just wake, it made every subordinate function self-aware.
I have wondered this myself. So far as I can tell, Hades within the partial sentience imparted to other subordinate.
A signal that precise would require thorough knowledge of the system. How could the Zeniths know that?
From the records on your focus, it appears Far Zenith had an informant during the development of...
Hank Shaw. He was supposed to steal a copy of the system for Far Zenith, but Elizabeth and Travis Tate caught him first.
Yes. It is likely Far Zenith acquired knowledge on the systems designed through him, despite his failure.
So from what Beta, I guess we can assume the Zenith's technology is...
Yes. As your encounter, they appear to make extensive use. Further, they seem to be equipped with some kind of protective energy field that shields them from harm.
They seemed indestructible, but that weapon the rebels used stripped their shield somehow.
Throughout history, every defensive technology has eventually been defeated by an offensive counterpart. Were I to absorb Hephaestus and utilize it to create a large force of combat machines, no shielding could withstand such an assault indefinitely.
So there's hope.
Always.
How did you figure out that the extinction...
The key came with data on your phone from Silent's interrogation of Hades. The duration of the signal itself, 17.22 years.
That doesn't make sense. You said that the signal took 8.6 years to arrive from Sirius. Why would the signal keep transmitting after it was received and you blew yourself up?
Because the sender didn't know that had happened until it received notice from Hades.
Which would take another 8.6 years to get back.
Correct. Only then would the sender stop broadcasting, after a total of 17.22 years. So the duration, halved, gave me the distance the signal traveled. With that in mind, I simply scanned my astronomical database for any relevant location 8.6 light-years away. Because it was Far Zenith's intended destination, Sirius was the only logical source.
Okay, people. It's time to head out. Connections in place. Booting up.
Beta, Aloy. I am fully installed on this core and ready to connect to the Cauldron network.
It's good to hear your voice. Erend, everyone. Fire your pulses and sound off.
I'm at my cauldron. This thingy, it's blinking. Did I do it right?
In position at my cauldron. My pulse generator is blinking also.
That means they're working. I'm in position, and mine is too.
Mine as well.
Okay. Radio silence until I give the all clear. Signing off. Gaia, let's cage the beast.
Connecting to the Cauldron network now.
Elizabeth Sobek, Alpha Prime, activating Omega clearance. Elizabeth Sobek, Alpha Prime, activating Omega clearance.
Clearance confirmed. Initiating containment sequence.
Critical threat detected. Imperative escape containment. Applying
Lock it down!
Terminating external connections.
It's working! It's got nowhere to go.
Capture imminent. Initiate contingency 13F.
Wait, what's that?
Malware detected. Attempting to compensate.
Containment.
It's cracked.
Look!
Facility activated. Engage. Autonomous defenses. Directive. Neutralize.
That means machines are on their way. Get ready.
Here they come!
For'll stay here. Protect Beta.
Got it.
Be careful.